a lot of these fairy tales from Europe, what was it in their culture that was so demonic to inspire these horror stories? And you still see it in the slasher movies on the screen today.
Well, when you look at, as I mentioned earlier, these fairy tales weren't meant for children. These were adult novels that were written at that time. And many of these tales came from older European, what people would call paganism, but their ancestral culture that they have. And so these are all Germanic and Norse and Celtic and Druid tales and gods and goddesses and the fights that they taught. These are tales that were passed down for generation to generation. And people like, say, like the Grimm brothers, they collected it. The Grimm brothers is just one popular name, but there were different people over many years that collected these tales and interpreted them in different ways depending on who took the story. And so when we're reading it, all of these tales are tales from their ancient culture. Well, not ancient, but they're older than their current culture, their older culture that they have. Not as ancient as some of our other societies, the societies of Ghana or of South Africa or of Eastern Africa, of Egypt or Ethiopia. All these different societies that have predated those societies. However, that was where that's where it came from, and it was not meant for children. However, the cannibalisms and all the ills in those stories are still there, and we're still teaching them to our children to this day. So that's where it came from.
But that must be very disempowering, eh? I mean,
well, it works. What we try to stress is, in original teachings, we respected each people or each person or each nation or each tribe's right to their belief system, just using the word belief system because that's what everyone uses, or their methodology of thinking, their dress code, their food, their music, etc. And there was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with Celtic teachings and Norse or Welsh teaching for Celtic children, Norse children, and Welsh children within their society. There's nothing wrong with the Tao being taught to a child who lives in Japan because he's a Taoist, or some say Theoist. That is their teaching. It works good for them.
That's a tribal knowledge.
There's nothing wrong with Buddhism for a child living in Burma or Tibet because that's in tune with their culture. The problem came in was that other people from, say, India or other regions took their cultures or their belief systems and forced it on those who happen to have been from the African continent or from the Caribbean islands, which at that time were the Arawak Native Americans, etc., or from North America. That's where the problem comes in. If I'm a lion, there's nothing wrong with you teaching me the doctrine of a lion, because it makes sense to the survival of this gene as a lion and all other lions that I be taught such.
But you're saying really their culture is one of cannibals.
Well, that's not what we're saying. That's, if you watch Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, this was their culture, and it was what made them powerful in their land.
But you know the Germans, not cutting you off, Doctor, but you know the German, and Dr. J. Rogers, he has a passage there where he talks about how the German warriors would, in battle, they take the organs of their defeated enemies and they boil it down into a drink called mamia.
That's right.
And they would partake of this, Brother Ali. I mean, you know, we were talking about this same issue in a different context for the previous two shows. Brother Ali, you remember you were exploring the way Christianity had been misused to mislead our people and to have this image of a white God and to denigrate our own identities. But Brother Ali, in the context of what Dr. Varma is saying today, this really confirms what you've been saying all along.
All along. And the beautiful thing about it that I honor, or honors me, is because to listen to both of them, it gives me the feeling of a senior person, because what they're talking about, Liberia, the different tribes, people, their experience, it is something that I have lived in the United States. For example, as my brother asked the question, where did we get it from? And I remember being in the United States as a Democrat at one point, to say I was a Democrat because my father was a Democrat and his father was a Democrat. So a lot of things that we hold so dearly, all it was done, all had have happened is that it was passed on, and we never checked anything. We just continued, which does not give us the excuse today, in essence, to continue. And I'm so thankful to hear young people like yourself begin now to see the necessity of taking up that mantle to say, wow, the world was not put together the way we were told.
Yeah.
You know, it's not okay to have a flat tire and say, Jesus will take care of. Ask Brother Hannah, does he have a jack? And I think he'll help you much quicker than Jesus will, in that sense. And if I would just hope that there are those who are watching this show will really take the substance of what you are saying, especially to my younger brothers and sisters, not to pick on them, but as Marcus Garvey told us, and many other, Dr. Clark, as many of them lectured and told my generation, I was there, I saw them, I visited their lecture, but what did we do
with what we were given?
So I'm honestly saying, as you said, where did it start? Each generation of us have dropped the ball to an extent.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage you,
Yes, sir.
and help you to protect the ball in such a way that you take it back to where I should have taken it. Because a lot of times the generation, my generation, will not sometimes accept that which they received, they passed it on without examining what it is that they received. So I am going to, or what I'm doing now is try to bring out of me maybe what I should have brought up. When you look at this table, and Mr. Hannah talked about it, I may be the one who is responsible for it being here. But believe it or not, this is done by average Bahamian, or those who have come in contact with. They were artists, but they were looking something to draw on. I presented glass. So the mechanism of this, yeah, I put it together. But there are a lot of young Bahamians that I know takes the interest. They want to do things like these. So what I have to do now is to nurture them, to bring out of them, because I think seeing is believing.